Wynn Las Vegas was once one of the top symbols of luxury and class on the Strip, where a series of prestigious five-star awards converged. But today, the resort is leading the way in a race that no one wants to win when it is saddled with a whopping $10.5 billion in debt, the largest number the company has ever faced since the pandemic. A lavish expansion project, thousands of empty rooms, and operating costs hitting the ceiling have turned what was once known as the profit paradise into a sandcastle in the face of the tide of the American economy. This is not just a story about a company, it is a mirror image of America, where money is still being poured into building lavish hotels while people increasingly struggle to pay rent, where casinos still glow despite the exhaustion of workers' pockets. History is gradually repeating itself like in 1929. Everything started with blind confidence and ended with an unexpected fall. Wynn may just be the first victim. But if Vegas is truly the example of the American economy, then perhaps we are facing the opening chapter of a new Great Recession. In today's video, we're going to peel back what's really going on inside Wynn Las Vegas. From $10.5 billion in debt, alarming numbers in financial statements, to the bigger picture of a city once built to win. But now he is gradually losing to his own fantasy. America's Great Depression may never really end. In 1929, it started from Wall Street, where bank buildings collapsed under the weight of greed and illusion. In 2025, it returns to Las Vegas, and this time, the epicenter was not in the stock market or hedge funds, but in the very casino empires that were once considered the heart of the city. After the shock of Caesars Entertainment carrying a huge debt of $12.3 billion USD, the world witnessed Wynn Resorts, the most luxurious icon, buckling with $10.5 billion USD in debt, the highest number since after the pandemic. From a symbol of prosperity, Wynn suddenly became a clear testament to the fragility of a borrowing-based economy. Last quarter's revenue reached $1.74 billion, but net profit fell more than 40% year on year. The profit margin, which once reached 10% in 2024, is now only 4.85%, which is no longer a temporary fluctuation, but a sign of a structural problem deep within the business model. The segments that once helped Wynn stand strong outside the casino, such as restaurants, retail, and entertainment, all declined by 8 to 12%, stripping the company of its traditional safety net. Meanwhile, labor, energy, and interest costs are constantly rising, squeezing every operating cash flow. Investors describe this situation with the phrase slow-motion collapse, a gradual, quarter-by-quarter decline as profits shrink and debts balloon. Wynn was no exception. They were just the next victim in the cycle that Las Vegas had created for itself over the past 2 decades. Borrowing to expand, then using tourists to pay off the debt. Expansion projects like Encore Tower have been indefinitely stalled because they are no longer financially viable. Some of Wynn's high-end areas had to close earlier than expected, as if the resort was unplugging the very circuits of its own soul. Behind the scenes, thousands of employees had to accept a harsh reality. Work hours were cut, bonuses were reduced, and many departments transitioned to a reduced self-operation model, meaning fewer people, more work, and no more benefits like before. For them, a reduction in income to 1/3 or even 1/4 has become normal, because still keeping their jobs in Las Vegas at this point is considered lucky. The luxury that once made them proud has become a constant worry as banquet halls stand empty and bonuses disappear. And for the company, the financial picture is increasingly concerning. Nearly 1/3 of Wynn's debt will mature within the next 36 months, meaning they will have to refinance at interest rates twice as high as pre-COVID levels. The quarterly interest payments alone cost nearly $100 million, leading management to admit they are choosing every penny spent, like mothers choosing each bunch of vegetables and meat when grocery shopping. To reassure the market, Wynn launched a $150 million share buyback program, but analysts said it was just a delaying tactic, not a rescue strategy. Meanwhile, major shareholders are starting to worry as the company continues to operate on borrowed money, despite the decline in tourism and tighter customer spending. In an effort to maintain its image of luxury, Wynn continues to bet on a strategy of radical luxury, targeting VIP and ultra-wealthy customers, believing they are immune to inflation. Indeed, casino revenue increased by 14% thanks to private gaming rooms and personalized services. But behind that number lies a paradox. Internal reports show Wynn is relying on just a few thousand global customers, while the middle class, the mainstay of its clientele for decades, has almost disappeared from the list of regular guests. When this group of customers withdrew, Wynn's model of exclusive luxury turned into a self-imposed trap within a gilded cage, shrinking the market, reducing cash flow, and increasing risk. Wynn was once the pinnacle of American luxury, where everything was designed to make the ordinary person feel special. But today, that aura is fading, revealing a heavily indebted, struggling empire, weary from the very weight of its extravagance. Las Vegas is still bright, but that light is burning through its remaining fuel. Perhaps when an icon like Wynn begins to falter, the question will no longer be, will Vegas collapse? But how much longer will it take before it completely collapses? Vegas shines from afar, but is empty up close. Many hotels on the Strip still keep their lights on every night, but the upper floors have dimmed their lights to save electricity, leaving only empty hallways and quiet lobbies. The city shimmers from afar, but inside it's as deserted as a stage after a performance. The cold statistics speak for themselves. Many major resorts are reporting their highest vacancy rates in years, despite spending millions on advertising, shows, and festivals. Utilization capacity is only 70–75%, significantly lower than the recovery phase in 2023. Tens of thousands of room nights went empty, triggering a chain reaction throughout the entire Strip. Restaurants, bars, and souvenir shops lost 20–30% of their customers, especially domestic tourists, who were once the backbone of this entertainment city. A regular meal can now cost over $50, and a bottle of water in a hotel room can cost up to $18. Middle-class tourists, who once flocked here to live like the rich for a weekend, are now choosing to stay home to avoid mortgaging their future for a short vacation. The cost drove them away, and the lights weren't enough to bring them back. Those who remain on the Strip are living in a shrinking rhythm of life. Service staff had their hours cut, working only 3 to 4 days a week, and many night shifts were cancelled because there weren't enough customers to stay open. Many taxi and Uber drivers sit in their cars for hours waiting for customers. Souvenir shops that were once packed with people are now only open for half a day to save electricity. On Fremont Street, some shops have temporarily closed signs, but Vegas locals know that here, temporary often means forever. A local reporter called it a ghost town illuminated by LED lights. A tragic paradox, more brilliant than ever on the surface, but inside a tourism system is slowly losing its vitality. Room prices, resort fees, food and drinks, everything is still increasing. But the experience is becoming increasingly impoverished, as if Vegas is selling memories instead of souvenirs. Major corporations, Wynn, Caesars, MGM, were forced to lower room prices to fill vacancies. But in the eyes of the people, it's no longer a marketing strategy, but a sign of a dying tourism economy. Each price reduction is an admission that luxury is no longer enough to keep anyone interested. Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, is now sleeping more than ever. A long sleep, illuminated by millions of light bulbs. But inside, only darkness remained. The streets that were once symbols of the desire for a better life are now the silent score of a fading American dream. There was a time when the middle class was the heartbeat of Las Vegas. They came from all over America, families driving across state lines, retired couples, workers hoping for a weekend of living like millionaires. They are the ones who transformed this city in the desert into a symbol of the American dream. A place where anyone can buy a little luxury, at least for a few days. But by 2025, Vegas seemed to have forgotten the people who once sustained it. Those tourists, who once generated the majority of Vegas's revenue, have now almost disappeared. They no longer appear at the blackjack table or in front of brightly lit breakfast buffets. And it's understandable. An average buffet now costs $75. A bottle of water in a hotel room is $18. And resort fees can be as high as $50 per night, sometimes even more than the room rate. Those small numbers, when added together, become an invisible wall that blocks millions of people who once considered Vegas the destination for all classes. Today, many tourists cancel their trips after learning that the actual total cost is twice as high as the advertised price. A 62-year-old man from Kansas shared, "I used to come here every year to play a few games and watch the show. Now, with that amount of money, I could stay in Japan for a whole week." The saying sounds both funny and bitter, because it speaks not only of prices, but of the change in the mindset of an entire generation. Vegas is no longer fun, it's become a test of your wallet. The disappearance of the middle class isn't just happening in hotels, it's spreading throughout the city. Local residents who once worked in the industries that sustain Vegas, restaurants, hotels, driving, maintenance, are being pushed out of the city due to rising living costs. Rent prices have skyrocketed, car insurance has increased continuously, while wages have remained almost stagnant. Those who are still holding on are facing reduced work hours, declining tips, and long nights with no customers. On the southern edge of the Strip, parking lots begin to transform into tent cities and dilapidated RVs, where former casino workers are rebuilding their lives amidst the dust. They call it RV living, a gentle term for a bitter reality, living in a vehicle, showering at gas stations, and working extra hours if someone calls. Even vacant lots near the center are now filled with silver tents gleaming under advertising lights, a paradoxical symbol of modern America, where those who once helped Vegas shine now sleep under the neon lights they once illuminated. If in the 1980s people went to Vegas to find a sense of wealth, in 2025 only the truly wealthy will be able to set foot there. Empty rows in performances, unsold hotel rooms, cold buffet tables, all telling the same story. A city built to serve everyone now serves only a few. And when the middle class, the soul of Vegas, retreats, all that's left is a humanless picture of extravagance. The city is still bright, but that light is fading in the eyes of those who once considered Vegas a weekend dream. Now, it's just the clearest reflection of the vanishing American middle class, those who once believed the American dream was real. There is a paradox quietly unfolding in the middle of the Nevada desert. The city of luck is now controlled by people who do not believe in luck. After the pandemic, real casino players gradually disappeared from the table and were replaced by people wearing grey vests, holding spreadsheets, and speaking in the language of profits. Wall Street has entered Vegas, and since then, the city of dreams has begun to lose its own soul. Over the past few years, large financial corporations and investment funds have in turn taken control of the majority of leading casino hotel chains, from Wynn, MGM to Caesars. For them, Vegas is no longer a story about lights, art, or emotions, but just a giant balance sheet where each revenue stream is carefully considered as a mathematical formula. Decisions once made by founders who understand customers are now in the hands of CFOs who only see a percentage of profits per room night. A former Wynn employee said that the company often delays payments to suppliers by up to 10 months, just to beautify quarterly reports for investors. In a place that once boasted sophistication and service norms, now everything seems to have turned into a cold arithmetic game. New policies launched, increase hidden fees, cut discounts, and eliminate free services that once set Vegas apart. Resort fees used to be add-ons, but have now become a symbol of systematic squeezing. For many people, Vegas used to be a place where emotions took precedence over numbers. But now, what visitors feel is no longer the hospitality, but the cold hands of the accountant. A prominent comment spread online. Mob used to understand customers better than Wall Street guys. A joke, but hidden true disappointment. Under the mafia, people at least feel like guests. Under Wall Street, they are just revenue streams. Local people also clearly feel that change. A hotel manager says that internal meetings now revolve around just cost per customer and no longer talk about experience or loyalty. Decisions to cut staff, limit incentives, or replace personal services with QR codes are legalized using the term profit margin optimization. Vegas gradually became the laboratory of financialization, where people were just variables in the revenue model. Local people also clearly feel that change. A hotel manager says that internal meetings now revolve around just cost per customer and no longer talk about experience or loyalty. Decisions to cut staff, limit incentives, or replace personal services with QR codes are legalized using the term profit margin optimization. Vegas gradually became the laboratory of financialization, where people were just variables in the revenue model. For tourists, this feeling is very uncomfortable, but also very clear. They came to Vegas to forget real life, but now Vegas itself reminds them of reality in a more cruel way. When entering the hotel lobby, they no longer see the true smiles of their employees, but only see the programmed sales strategy. When paying, they not only pay for the service, but also for fees they never ask for. Vegas, where once defined life by emotions, now operates like an emotionless financial machine. Every decision is based on a quarterly report. Every experience is reduced to numbers. Every memory is valued. When the people who created Vegas were replaced by spreadsheets from Wall Street, the city was no longer a place to live, but just a place to calculate. Once considered the thermometer of the US economy, Las Vegas is now reflecting a truth that the whole country does not want to see. Americans have stopped believing in the consumer miracle. The lights are still on, the signs are still brilliant, but behind that is a city that is losing its breath, where the decline of every table, every show, every dinner bill is telling the story of a new, silent, and profound recession. The crisis at Wynn is no longer the tragedy of a business alone. It has become a mirror for the entire American tourism industry, and deeper than that is a warning about a rift in middle-class consumption patterns. The deceleration of spending, rising personal debt, and constant real income have left millions of Americans entering a state of unable to spend on fun. If the 1930s were a crisis in the stock market, then in 2025, it was a crisis in daily life. Vegas used to be called America's Consumer Confidence Index, where every show ticket sold, every fully booked hotel room is a testament to people's optimism. But now, just walking along the Strip, we can clearly see that faith is running out. Casinos that used to light their lights for 24 hours now have to shorten operating hours to save electricity and labor. Many resorts are forced to reduce room floors, cut festivals, and reduce staff shifts. Meanwhile, the flow of money into the city plummeted, but the fixed cost of, from electricity, water, to property tax of, remained the same. As a result, the small business went bankrupt en masse, leaving rows of stores closed, the Felice board dangling in the desert sun. A small bar owner near Fremont Street said in despair, "Vegas used to feed us. Now it's just surviving." Economic observers started talking about Vegas effect, when the city that once represented joy became the first breaking point of the new wave of consumer recession. And if history can repeat itself, Vegas' fall today could be a preview of what will spread across America tomorrow. Giant corporations like Wynn, MGM, and Caesars are now stuck in a vicious cycle of high debt, large interest costs, and shrinking markets. When revenue falls, they cut service. When service falls, customers leave again. Every quarter, the earnings report looks like a slow record of the approaching collapse. But the scariest thing is emotions. In the US, the economy is measured not just by GDP or shares, but by how people feel. Faith in tomorrow, in the ability to pay the bill, in still being able to take a vacation without debt. When those feelings disappear, the American economy also loses its soul. Amid the fading lights on Strip Avenue, there was still something glimmering. That was neither advertising nor flashy, but the faint hope that perhaps this was not the end. Because if we look back at history, America has fallen many times and then stood up from its own ashes. And for Vegas, today's collapse may not be the end, but the door that opens for a new chapter of awakening. Some industry experts say the current crisis is an opportunity for Las Vegas to restructure its entire tourism system. After decades of following the infinitely luxurious model, the city is now forced to face the question, who can afford to come here? It is in that moment that a generation of small businesses is quietly emerging. Local cafes, small motels, desert experience tours, all pursuing the minimalist experience model, less colorful, but more authentic and intimate. And perhaps this is where Vegas needs to relearn its 1929 lesson on the limits of debt-based prosperity. When the lights dim, people clearly see what is truly valuable: trust, sharing, and a feeling of welcome. Some observers call this moment the reincarnation moment of trust, when Vegas is forced to choose between two paths, continuing to chase the illusion of profit or returning to the soul that once made it great. Change is happening slowly but clearly. Many luxury projects were cancelled, making way for community spaces, local festivals, and indigenous cultural activities. The once silent residents now start talking about reclaiming the city. Cannot help but be ironic, but also not lacking in determination. A small shop owner in downtown Vegas said, "If the corporations leave, we will start over again, because Vegas belongs to the stayer." And then, in that adversity, the name Wynn, which was considered the starting point for the crisis, could become a symbol of awakening. Because its collapse forced the entire United States to look back. How long can an economy be brilliant when built on debt? And how long can a society survive when it forgets its middle class? Maybe, in the fading lights along the Strip tonight, Vegas is preparing for a new dawn. A dawn that is noiseless, not lavish, but more authentic and human than ever. The city of sin may be entering a period of kindness, where the American dream is, after all, return to those who have lost it long ago. Las Vegas was once where America came to believe that everything could start again. Just one more gamble, one lucky night, one small belief. But today, that city of hope is learning to start over. As the splendid lights fade away, perhaps Vegas is preparing for another form of light. The light of truth, of people, and of faith to be revived. Because in the end, it is not the lights or the gold-plated towers that create miracles, but the people who still believe that miracles are worthy of being saved. And if Wynn, symbol of luxury, can collapse, then maybe from there, a new Vegas will rise, as the city bends down, looks back, and starts listening to the very people who built it. If the capital of the American dream must now also be reborn from the ashes, will the rest of America be brave enough to do the same? When the most shimmering symbols are fading, what will we choose to keep, the light or soul? If you believe that what is happening in Vegas is not just the story of one city, but of the whole of America, please share this video. Like, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Is this collapse the beginning of a true rebirth of America? The content in this video is made for the purpose of analysis, education, and social commentary, not to criticize or attack any individual, organization, or business. All facts, numbers, and quotes are compiled from publicly available and reliable sources at the time of production. The statements in the video reflect an independent editorial perspective and do not represent any political or commercial views. Viewers are encouraged to self-assess, contrast, and draw their own conclusions.